Thank you so much for coming along this evening. People have come some distance. Let me tell you, Northamptonshire, Bristol, Dudbridge, all that way. Okay, what I normally do at the start of Stroud Short Stories evening is firstly say who I am. I'm John Holland, I'm the organiser of Stroud Short Stories, and I usually say there's something special about this evening. There's something special about this evening. Firstly, this is the 10th Stroud Short Stories event. And Bill Jones, who founded Stroud Short Stories, is here this evening as well to enjoy applause. Thank you. Secondly, this evening is being videoed. So we're very grateful to the lovely author David Penny, who's videoing the whole thing this evening, which is very, very kind of him. So thanks, David. Thirdly, of course, this is an eerie evening of stories. So our last 3 events have all been open themed, but tonight it's a bit dark. I like statistics. These are some statistics. 49 authors submitted 63 stories to Nimue Brown, my fellow judge, and myself for selection this evening. And we're very, very grateful to everybody who submitted. It's really not easy, I'm sure as many as you know, to both write and then submit and then wait for a response and then read. All that's quite testing, really. So we're pleased for everybody who's written to us and submitted stories. Of the 10 we've chosen this evening, 8 of the authors are new to Stroud Short Stories. And that's quite... That's a high figure for Stroud Short Stories recently, so very, very pleased and excited about that. 3 of the people who read this evening have never read in front of an audience before, which I think is exciting too. And one very special person, is reading for a record-breaking 4th time at Stroud Short Stories this evening. There's another groan there, I think. Who is that bastard? It's the usual format this evening, 5 stories, 20-minute break, 5 stories. A final word before our first story. Make some noise. Show these authors how much you appreciate their work when they come onto the stage. Make a lot of noise when they leave the stage. Do the same, please, because it means something to them. Thank you. Okay, let's get going. So our first story this evening is The Woman's Wraith by Kirsty Hartsiotis. Kirsty is a Stroud-based storyteller and writer, and also a museum curator in Cheltenham. No stranger to spookiness, she cut her writing teeth on an as-yet unpublished vampire novel. As a storyteller, she performs both solo and with her company Fire Springs. She is the author of Wiltshire Folk Tales and Suffolk Folk Tales. Her brand new book, Gloucestershire Ghost Tales, which literally has only been published this week, is for sale this evening. Please go and have a look in the corner at the break and please buy it. So, reading The Woman's Wraith, please welcome Kirsty Hartsiotis.
The Woman's Wraith. Martha Legg pulled her shawl tight around her shoulders as she left her parents' cottage and walked quickly away from Kempsford's village green. The thatched cottages away from the road were wreathed in mist, and the sky above was the deep blue of very early morning. The only person about at this hour, she envied those able to lie in a little longer in the autumn. She still had to go into the fields. Money was money. Every penny earned made her engagement to Ned Cool that little bit more likely. She walked down to the swing bridge and exchanged a smile with the lockkeeper as she crossed over the canal to walk along the towpath. Soon she was out of the village and into the fields. It was brighter now, grey light filling the sky, but a white mist still clung to the still waters of the canal. Martha shivered as the moisture seeped through her woolen shawl. The newly risen sun was struggling to break through the mist here on the canal, but straight ahead it was shining on the brickwork of Oakland's bridge, turning it a vivid red, the brightest colour in that flat autumn landscape of brown fields and almost bare trees. Walking in a tunnel of whiteness, Martha had a sudden feeling of feeling trapped. The sun shining into the mist made it bright, almost blinding. She walked on with quick steps. If the sun was shining, maybe the day wouldn't be too bad after all. She looked up again at the bridge and frowned. Below the arch, on the near side, the mist was very thick, and it was flowing and shifting about. She scrubbed her eyes. When she looked again, the mist was coalescing. A misty form was rising up from the water, a form that was almost human. It hung there by the towpath. It seemed to be waiting. Martha's breath caught in her throat as she swallowed the impulse to scream. She rubbed her eyes again, but the thing was still there, still and silent. She took a step back without meaning to, and, heart pounding, felt a rush of need to turn tail and run back to the village. What would she say? A foolish tale about a bugaboo by the bridge would lose her this hard-won job. It was surely just a trick of the light. She took a deep breath and walked on. But although the mist was clearing off the water, the figure didn't go away. It just hung there, its misty form shifting as if a breeze had caught it. Yet the air was completely still. She really didn't want to walk past it, but she had no choice if she wanted to get to work. She dropped her gaze to her feet and held her breath as she walked on towards the bridge. She could still see the figure's hazy legs drifting over the water by the towpath, and her resolve began to weaken. Keep your eye on the path. By the time she reached the bridge, all she could see was the muddy track in front of her. If she couldn't see it, perhaps it couldn't see her. A child's logic, but it was all she had to cling to. Going under the arch, she reached out to touch the reassuringly solid bricks. They were cold, but solid. She had to keep walking on. But she couldn't quite stop herself glancing slightly to the right as she passed the figure. Her breath caught again, and she almost fell, right beside her, as if it were pacing her, with the thing's misty legs. With the next step, she glanced again, and the figure was again beside her. Without making a conscious decision, she began to run. She was out from under the bridge in a flash, legs pounding and on into the morning light. But she couldn't run forever. She slowed, chest heaving, and her head traitorously turned to the right again. For a moment she thought she'd outrun it. Then the misty legs drifted into view beside her once more. Ahead was the entrance to the field where she worked. She heaved a great breath and ran again. If this was a thing of water, surely it couldn't follow her across the land. She turned from the towpath and stepped into the muddy field. Quick, backward glance. It was there, right behind her. An eyeless thing of white, swirling mist, only inches from her face. A ragged scream tore from her throat. The air expelled from her mouth shifted the misty form. But soon it recoalesced. She turned away, gasping. There was no escape. She understood that now. All she could do was endure. She went about her work, pulling up Swedes, giving them a quick scrub down, chucking them into piles to be collected later. The ghostly figure was constantly by her side. Pulling Swedes is heavy, back-breaking work, but usually she enjoyed the solitude it brought, away from her parents' house and the clamour of her younger siblings. Today, she'd have given anything to hear their voices. All day long she saw not a soul. No voice rose in greeting from the path, no heavy clop of horses' hooves, no swoosh of a boat passing by. Only the silent figure of mist kept her company. As the day passed, she sank into a weary lassitude. A dull pain lodged itself in her chest. Her limbs felt like lead as she hauled the Swedes. She didn't dare think, but a small part of her mind panicked every time she caught a glimpse of the misty form. At length, the lengthening shadows told her it was time to go home. It was no surprise that the figure followed her to the towpath and paced her as she trudged back towards the bridge. In the gathering gloom, she imagined it following her all the way home and hovering over her bed that night. Now she was at the bridge, dark and forbidding in the failing light. She stepped into its shadow and walked quickly through, looking nowhere but straight down at the ground in front of her. She went quite a few steps beyond the bridge before she had the nerve to look to her left. She saw only the dark water of the canal. The thing was gone from beside her. She didn't dare look back. She jumped when the village church began to ring the bells for 7 o'clock. She looked towards the bridge, blinking in the fading light. Such a distance she had yet to walk. Still, she didn't dare look back, but she could feel a prickling at the back of her neck. It was a slow slog home, never looking back. She didn't answer the bridge keeper's smile as she crossed back into the village. When she got home, her mother was dishing up the tea, but Martha couldn't eat. As soon as the things were cleared away, she took to her bed. And the next day, she wouldn't get out of it, just lay there, staring at the wall. Her mother sent for the doctor, then for young Ned Cool, but neither could rouse her. After a week, her mother had to call for the vicar. While he sat beside her, Martha whispered out her tale. "I do warrant, Reverend, as that bugaboo were my own spirit like, a-calling me away." It seemed that was true, as that very same day she died. Oatlands Bridge is an even lonelier place today. The canal is long gone, and the bridge is overgrown and desolate, marooned in a field down a private road. There's no water there now from which a form might rise like the one that Martha saw. But on misty days, perhaps it's best to stay away.